Hello and welcome to What's New. Today we will be discussing something old, racism. I am your host, Andre Gardner. Racism is defined as a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. Today I would like to welcome to the show Reverend Zan Holmes, pastor of the St. Luke Community United Methodist Church in Dallas, Texas. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's good to be here.
Thank you. Reverend Holmes, in your opinion, how does racism exist in the United States?
Well, it exists in many different ways. As you indicated in your definition, it's the tendency to judge a group of people based on color alone. And in our nation, we see that with the segregated housing, the gap, the income gap that exists between whites and blacks and others in this society, which is the basis for a lot of that. We see it in the underrepresentation of black people in political offices and other places, in employment and in the corporate world. So it's something that exists in practically all areas of our life and our nation.
So how does racism exist in the church?
Well, in the church in a sense reflects a lot of what's going on in society.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's the case. We would think it would be better in the church, but we have some of the same problems. Right now, for example, in my own denomination, we have the number of bishops that we have is based primarily on race, and a lot of times we're not judged on content and other qualifications. So it exists there. It's still true that 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings is the most segregated hour in America, as the saying goes, and so that in itself reflects how racism has played out in religion as well as in other areas of our life.
So, in your opinion, what starts racism?
Well, I think it starts with pride. A people or a person who is insecure, really, and feels that you have to build yourself up by putting somebody else down. I think fear is at the basis of a lot of the racism. I think misunderstanding, ignorance is also not knowing and threaten and who feel that the way you achieve is to, as I indicated earlier, is to put somebody else down. And unfortunately, that has existed in our world. It's not healthy, but it's a reality.
In your opinion, if racism, let's say for instance, racism was not occurring today, what would the world be like?
Oh, I think that we would not have some of the problems that we have. I think we'd still have problems, but those problems would not be based along racial lines.
Right.
I think we would have problems, but we would realize that there are problems that we all have in common, so that we're all in the same boat, and which would, I think, lead us to work together to resolve the problems, realizing that what affects one person affects another. So I think if racism did not exist, you'd see more cooperation across racial lines, dealing with all of the issues that face us today.
Okay. Also, Reverend Holmes, I know you're a professor at SMU. How does racism exist on that college campus or on any college campus?
Well, I think it exists on the college campuses much in the same way it exists in the society at large, because our campuses reflect the problems in the society at large. We have a small group of, historically, for example, I'm at Southern Methodist University. Historically, that was an all-white school that was built during the days of racial segregation. So that institution itself came into being based on racism. The tragedy about racism on college campuses is that many of our young people have learned this from the society, and so they reflect it in their ways of thinking.
It started from like their parents? Or?
Yeah, they pick it up. It's passed on from one generation to another, and that's why it's incumbent upon us to deal with it as you are seeking to do so today.
Okay. Could you give us your solutions on how we can end racism in America?
I think what's happening in this studio today is a way to end it. I think talking about this here is a way to do it. As I walked into this campus, seeing blacks and whites and Hispanic students studying here together, learning about each other, experiencing each other. It is that kind of life together, I think, that helps us to overcome racism. It also, I think, we ended by when coming to the realization that the future of our world depends upon our overcoming it. When we can see that we all have something at stake, as Dr. King said, either we learn to live together as sisters and brothers or we perish separately as fools. And when we can realize that the future, our future, the future of us all, depends upon that kind of unity and cooperation, I think that will enable us to deal more effectively with racism and help us to overcome it. But we first got to admit it before we can deal with it. Yeah.
I like that, Reverend Holmes.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with State Senatorial candidate Royce West after these messages. Welcome. We're back with What's New, and we're discussing racism. And my guest today is State Senatorial candidate Royce West. And Mr. West, what about in politics? Does racism exist in politics?
I think that racism is very evident in politics. What happens is a lot of times when minorities get an opportunity to get representation, the Constitution mandates that every person should have a right to vote, and that and that voting is based on one man, one vote.
Right.
A lot of times what happens is that districts are gerrymandered, if I may, to cut minorities out of representation. And a lot of time at-large districts where you may have a population of, say, 20 to 30% minorities, those particular districts, if they're at large, minorities very seldom, if any, get an opportunity to vote for a candidate of their choice, thereby getting representation. So most at-large districts are somewhat suspect when you have a large minority population or a significant minority population of, say, 20 to 30%.
Do you plan to, are there any plans in your campaign to address racism or in your campaign race?
Well, let's talk about racism first of all. What is racism?
Yeah, what do you feel causes racism in any walk of life?
I think that it's just like everything, it starts at home.
Right.
And what happens is that traditionally it has been that Anglos have thought that Hispanics and African Americans have been taking jobs away from them. If you look at our history, you will see that Anglos, that Hispanics and African Americans have historically played subservient roles to Anglos. And you have people like David Duke that are talking to his Anglo constituent and saying that, well, we need to do away with affirmative action. They've had enough gains, this, that, and the other. That's nonsense. And basically, racism is ignorance. Racism is a belief by a people that they're superior to another. And racism exists in the form of denying people certain upward mobility based on the color of their skin, denying people certain opportunities based on the color of their skin.
So in your opinion, is racism in America getting better or worse?
Oh, it's getting worse right now.
Worse?
It's getting worse. It's getting worse from the standpoint that our youth have forgotten exactly what gains have been made as a result of the civil rights movement. And if a lot of our youth, specifically young men, have forgotten that they have to vote. And out on the campaign trail, I talk to a lot of young men, Hispanic, Anglo, and also African American, and I say, hey, are you going to be voting? When? What? Where? Are you registered to vote? No, I'm not. And it seems though that they don't really care. I think that what we need to do is to make sure that let's look at Atlanta first of all. Atlanta is a good experiment of what different ethnic groups coming together can do in order to make the situation better and make the quality of life better for everyone. That's what has to happen here in Duncanville. That's what has to happen in Dallas County.
Just everywhere.
Well, exactly. And we're going to have true multi-ethnic coalitions. Now, we have a long way to go here in Duncanville, but I think that some of the efforts that are being made now are very sincere efforts and very positive efforts. The fact of the matter is that if we look at the demographics of this area, the increase in minority population is going to come in this particular century. So we might as well prepare for it and be able to work together.
So when you were in college, did you see a lot of racism on your college campus, or?
Oh, I can tell you, yes. And I'm a graduate of the University of Texas at Arlington,
Right.
where I received both my bachelor's and my master's degree. And I was the first African American there to be student body president. That was in, 74, 75.
Right.
Racism stuck its ugly head up on numerous occasions.
Right.
I can remember when some Klansmen wanted to come on campus with their hoods and stuff like that, and we had to deal with that problem.
Right.
I can remember hearing stories about professors that would take a brown paper bag on the first day of class and say, if you're darker than this brown paper bag, you might as well not even be in this class. So those types of things, yeah.
Really?
There was some racism there.
Could you give me your solutions as to how we can end racism in America?
I don't think that you will ever end racism. Now, you have to understand that there's different types of racism.
Right.
African Americans can feel discriminated against based on the color of their skin. Hispanics can feel the same way. Asians can feel the same way. So there is always going to be some form of racism in our society. If we ever get to the point where race is no longer a factor, I think that we will reach what they call in the a utopia,
Right.
where there's no problems
Right.
or anything like that. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think that your generation, my generation, have to continue to understand that with the world getting to the point where the world economy is much smaller because of the advances in technology, that it's going to be to everyone, specifically Americans, mutual benefit
Right.
to start working together with one another because of the competition that's going to be coming from foreign countries.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. West, I thank you for coming today. And today we discussed this evil nickname, racism, and possible solutions to ending it. We can only relieve society of this distressing subject by spending more time understanding than understating. Racism is the end result of years of hate. And the solution to racism, my friends, is love. And this is Andre Gardner for What's New. Is that it? That's it. Thank you.